a sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Well, my guest today is going to talk about music from Oshawa, Ontario. Please welcome Terry Coad. Welcome back. Welcome to the show.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I've said welcome back because I often have guests return and, I've forgotten for a moment what I was doing.
That's okay. I can totally understand.
So now you're a singer, a songwriter, correct?
Yep. Producer. Yeah, I worked production at the music hall in Oshawa for a few years until COVID.
Sorry, go ahead. What does that entail, the production and stage? What do you mean?
So we would have large touring acts come through. An example would be Buck Cherry. We had Buck Cherry, I think, the year before COVID. So I would work stage, so I would help with load in. I did lighting. I didn't do lighting for them. They had their own LD, but I did the openers. Typically, any night there, you would see me behind the lighting desk doing lighting for all the bands. And then I would help with sound as well. So I'd be on stage during sound check, helping the bands get set up, going through their sound check, do the routine that all bands know about. And then in between the bands, like for instance with Buck Cherry, we had a couple openers. So after each band would play, we would come on, clear the stage for the next band, and so on and so forth. And then that would be the whole night. It was exciting. Met a lot of cool people, had a lot of amazing experiences. I actually look back on that very fondly. So
how many bands would you have in a night?
Depending on the show, and depending on if it was a large artist. We had Rain Maida and Chantal Kraviachik come through. For you who may not know, Rain Maida is a singer of Our Lady Peace.
Right.
As well, Chantal Kraviachik, which was huge in the 90s. Very lovely people, amazing performance. They came through as a couple and performed an album that they wrote, but they also did some Our Lady Peace covers. So what would typically happen with something like that, we might have an opener for that or two.
Right.
That's it. But then we do big shows. Like I played there with my band back in, I think it was 2018. We did a big metal, kind of a festival in one night kind of thing. It wasn't an all day festival, but we had like 4 or 5 bands, all different genres of hard rock and metal. And it just really depends on what the promoter is looking to do realistically.
So you said that stopped when COVID happened.
Yeah. So
are you going to get back to doing that?
So when COVID happened, again, like the whole world just kind of shut down. Nobody knew what was going on. We were actually, my band Tears of a Deity was scheduled to play there April 18th of 2020. And unfortunately, COVID had already hit, shut everything down. And what was strange about that was that particular day, we were supposed to be loading in to do that show. Instead, we were unloading the entire venue because they officially were closing down. So it was a really, really tough spot. It was a family there, you know what I mean? So the owners, Ed and Maggie, maybe they were dear friends of mine, still are to this day. We had got involved in another venue that we were going to be in opening up, which due to business, I can't really get into details on that because it's not really my story to tell. It ended up going south literally a few months back. Excuse me. So that ended up just being the end of it for now. I don't know what the future is going to hold. I myself, I'm going to be packing up and moving out towards Kingston next year, where I'm going to open my studio and move forward out there, which is an amazing music city. I was actually out there quite recently and just love the city. It's so beautiful. It's filled with nothing but art and music. It's just a wonderful place. And my band is getting ready to hit the road with Anvil next week, and that's actually our final stop. We're doing 3 shows and 3 nights with Anvil. And Kingston is our final show next Saturday night. So it's going to be exciting. Beyond, my wildest dreams getting to go out there finally to play. We've been trying to get out to Kingston for like ever, and it's just never worked out, right? So that's happening. But that's kind of, everything's just been changing so quickly since COVID. You know what I mean? The music industry as a whole has just been up and down, up and down. And I've been paying attention to so many of my favorite bands and their touring schedules and what's been happening. And it's not easy anymore. Not that it ever was really easy, but now it's almost getting to the point where it's becoming impossible for some artists, and some artists are canceling tours, which is very, very unfortunate. So it's a scary time we're in for music,
For sure. It's kind of interesting. I find like a lot of musicians I speak to, some of them have been very fortunate and been getting lots of gigs, and others are really struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. We shut it down during COVID.
Yeah.
My band, we going into COVID, we had tons of stuff we were working on. I actually was working in internet radio at the time as well, and co-hosting a show, and loving that. And then of course, once COVID hit, that got shut down too. We were pushed out of the studio. We were trying to do it kind of like what we're doing here, but at that time it was so new. Everyone was jumping on, and nobody knew what was happening and how to do it, and it was just a mess. And I just lost so much interest, going through so much of my own problems in my own life with losing. I was working at the music hall. I had my own career on the side of that. I lost both those jobs on the exact same day.
Wow.
And trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do now. So
Yeah.
it's we all navigated it individually. Everybody around. Getting through it was something we didn't have a choice. So we all kind of fumbled through and made the best of it. But as far as the band goes, we just shut it down. We really didn't have. I lost all interest, in doing anything, because I went out and supported a lot of bands once they opened up some of the venues where you could get in with mask mandates and all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't support friends and local bands. I'd even help with sound where I could, just to kind of be a part of it still. But my own band, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to partake in this right now. None of the guys did in the band, and we were all going through our own hardships. So we just said, let's just go on hiatus. We're all best friends, so we'll just go on hiatus, keep in touch. And maybe every once in a while we'll just get together and go through the material, just make sure, we can still play it. And we still recognize each other, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what we did for basically 2.5 years. And then at the end of this, 2.5, getting into the third year, we went, okay, let's get it going again, and we got, we started writing a bit of some new material. And then from there, it was, we ended up playing with Anvil last year. We got on a bill with them. And that, Anvil was a band that we loved growing up, and had the privilege of getting on a bill. And we were so excited to do so. And it was a great show. So we got invited back out this year to do a couple extra shows on top of, so we're doing, I think, 3 nights. And then on top of that, I'm also working on other projects because I'm a producer. I released a cover song this year, actually with my lovely lady, Shauna Archer. She phenomenal singer, beautiful voice. She approached me after I released our EP back in January and said, would you mind producing a song for me? I said, what do you have in mind? He said, I'd love to do a cover of Ain't No Sunshine. I went, let's do it. So I went and got mechanical rights for that, produced it, mixed it, sent it to a good guy out in Toronto, Harry Hess, to master it for me. And we released it about a month and a half ago or something like that now.
Very
and
nice.
It's done well, and it's we've had a lot of fun doing that, and I got other opportunities coming up too. I'm going to be working on a bunch of different stuff, and then of course my band Tears is going back in the studio after the Anvil tour, and we're going to start writing and recording a bunch of new stuff. So
what style of music do you perform?
My band is more hard rock metal. So the interesting thing about that was when we first played with Anvil last year, their tour manager, Black Moon Entertainment, Seamus Black, he's a friend of ours. He came up to us after our set, and he really likes us. We played with him before. He's actually the lead singer of AC/DC Tribute Canada, which is probably, in my opinion, probably one of the best AC/DC tribute bands I've ever seen. Anyways, and I've seen a few of them. I know all the guys, great guys. We played with them a few years ago at a benefit for a friend of ours. And he came to us after the show, and he said, you guys are, I just love what you guys are doing. You've done a great job. You're very catchy, a lot of your stuff. And he says, what I really dig is the fact that you can kind of float in between genres, from metal into hard rock. It's just what you guys do, and you do it well. And so thank you very much. So it's kind of tough. The new stuff we're writing is even kind of going in a slightly different, we're going down a different avenue now with the new stuff we're writing. So it's kind of hit or miss, depends on how we're feeling that day, what we're writing, I guess, but I'd categorize us as hard rock and metal.
Okay, right. So for you personally, when did your music career start?
I started playing guitar when I would have been about 9 or 10 years old. And I started playing bars when I was 17.
Right.
Wasn't even legal to be in them, but I was playing them. Had a phenomenal, teenage years. Once I started playing bars, everybody I was hanging around with were older than me, so they all kind of took me under their wings and protected me and kept me going. And I had so many phenomenal experiences to look back on. And then I actually stepped away from music for about 10 years. Got married and had kids, and and everything was just, when the band I was in at the time ended, it had been about 7 long years. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. I gotta raise a family now. So I took a break. And then the kid's mom and I had split up, this going back about 15 years ago. And then my dad had passed away in 2011, and I was like sitting around, and I remember so many conversations I had with dad about my music and stuff. And it was one thing he always really emphasized how proud he was with me, all the stuff that I was doing. So I remember sitting out in my backyard one day, and I was like, I think I'm supposed to play again. I need to play. So I started playing. I picked up the guitar and I just started playing around and just learning some fun songs. And then an old friend of mine contacted me. Actually, that's not exactly what happened. His dad had passed away. I hadn't seen him in a few years. So I ended up going to the funeral because I knew his dad quite well. He was a very great man. And I went and I seen him, and we got talking, and he was like, I'm playing in a band again, and we're just doing covers, all our old favorite metal tunes. You should come play. So I said, sure, why not? I'll come out. And had no ambition to do anything other than just get together and have some fun. And I ended up meeting my bass player in Tears of a Deity that day. And we've been together now for over 10 years playing and writing. And we started out writing acoustic stuff. And that's where it began for us. So, and I've just never looked back.
All right. Yeah, cool. So do you perform your own music, or do you?
Yep. We're pretty much all original. Yep. We have a couple covers every once in a while. We might throw in a set here and there, but we're pretty much all original. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All our stuff is on all streaming and download platforms.
Okay. So how many members do you have in the band?
We're a three-piece. I am all guitars and vocals. Troy Robertson, the Godfather, I call him. He's bass and backup vocals. And then John Surratt is our drummer. John and I have actually been friends since we were 14 years old. So it was like nothing for us to get together and start playing.
Very good. Now, do you all write, or is it mostly?
Sorry. So when we put the band together, it was initially I had a bunch of I had a couple acoustic songs when Troy kind of came over one day. We were messing around in the studio, and I said, I want to show you a couple things. And I let him hear a song. I had just finished recording just some guitars and vocals for. And it's a song that's actually on our album now. It's an acoustic song called Memories in Stone. And very, very powerful song. We don't put it in our set only because it is such a slow song. Right. I'm not a fan of going to see a band and they just, they're hitting hard and all of a sudden they just drop the air to the room with a slow song. We're not Metallica. We can't pull that off. Right. Mm. So we tend to keep it out of the set list, but it's a song that means a lot to me. It's very powerful. It's very personal. So I let Troy hear the very early on recording of that song. Right away he says, I want to be a part of this. So we started off with that. And then from there, we were involved in an internet radio station out of the local area here, and friends of mine that were hosting a show on there, and they played the song on air and then invited us on to talk, and then we got chatting. And Troy and I played a concert a few years ago just for fun, just old metal covers. And one of my buddies that were on the show says to me, he says, you're quite a shredder. He says, we'd love to see you do some of that again. So sure enough, I was like, yeah, why not? So Troy and I sat in the studio and wrote our first hard rock metal song, Tell Me Why, which is in our set still to this day. Right. And it just kind of progressed. So I was the main songwriter out of the gate because Troy was very new to songwriting. He plays guitar and bass and sings all the time. He was just never a songwriter. Okay. Through the last 10 years, he's become a great songwriter. So now we were at band practice a couple weeks ago, and he's like, I just started playing a riff on the bass, and next thing you know, we've got a whole new song. He pretty much wrote it himself right in front of us, and I just had to write the lyrics. So it's nice to have somebody else now. John, he's our drummer. He just jumps in and does his part when he needs to do it and kind of helps us with arrangements. But Troy and I tend to be the ones that come up with the majority of the riffs and the ideas. I do all the vocals, all the harmonies, all the lyrics and melodies. Right. So,
it's often the case that no matter how many members there are, that usually there's a couple that do most of the writing, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And we're no different than that. It just took a little bit of time because when we started this band, Troy had never really played a show before. Okay. And John hadn't done too many shows himself, and it was just small parties he used to play back in the day, when we were kids. Yeah. So when we played our first show at the Mustache Club in Oshawa, it was an eye-opening experience for them. I was prepared for it. I hadn't done it in 20 years, but I'd done it many times. These guys were new right out of the gate. So it was a big deal for us. And we had a great show, great turnout. I think it was pretty close to capacity the night we played our first show. And there's actually footage of that. We released, I think, a couple music videos from that live performance that are on our YouTube channel, which is just Tears of a Deity Canada. And we've just kept going. And now we're just COVID, like we talked about, happened, and a lot of time down, a lot of time I got to sit alone and come up with some ideas, and then
Right.
now we're back at it and getting ready for the next chapter.
During that time when you were raising your family, when you weren't out there performing, did you find that hard?
I did. It's funny. I've actually said this to so many people. When you're an artist, doesn't matter what kind of artist you are, and you step away from that, you feel like you're missing a part of your soul. And you may not even realize it for a long time that it's gone. You just notice an emptiness inside of you. And it wasn't until after my dad passed away, and I was kind of thinking back over all our conversations him and I had, and the experiences I went through, and I went, I need this back in my life. And that's kind of what happened. So for me, music, it still is to this day, it's kind of, it's a way of healing for me. You know what I mean? When I write, it's all of the majority of our songs, with the exception to some of our new ones, are very personal. They're all about my life, from fighting cancer to dealing with death, to dealing with relationships and loss, drug addictions, and almost losing people to that. That's what the majority of our stuff is about. Mental illness is another one that I'm very passionate about. It's, so when I would write a song, it was very, very difficult at times to get things out. So when we perform, so like when we would perform, it would be one of those things where I've had nights I'd be on stage and just getting through some of the lyrics, because for some reason that particular night, I don't know why, it was just hard on me. You know what I mean? But the amazing part that happens with that is the response you get, because I've had people come up to me after shows and go, well, holy shit, that was one of the most incredible performances I've seen. Like the emotion in you. He says, I felt every word you said and every word you sang, right? And it was never something I stepped out to try and do. It was just something that happens, right? And that's the magic of art and music. So
Yeah, it's even, it's kind of interesting what you're saying, because even when I'm doing interviews, like there's sometimes I'm talking to somebody, depending on what they've experienced, if I've experienced something the same, I always, as I'm talking to them, I'm wanting to cry, right?
Absolutely.
Because when you connect with, whether it's an audience or one-on-one, it really is a special thing.
It's amazing how you can, when we play live, it's one of the most exciting things I'll ever do. You know what I mean? Because I have a moment in our set where I get to talk, a few moments, but there's one in particular that I do this almost every single show. And there's a moment in the set where I talk to the audience, and I use this as an opportunity to potentially save a life, because I get to tell my story of my cancer fight that I had in 2014. And I've had so many people come up to me after those performances and after those, those shows we've done, and have said to me, after what you said tonight, I'm going to go have myself looked at. I thank you for that. You know what I mean? And I've had that happen to me so many times. And that is so important to me, to just not be, if you're going to be a musician on a stage, right? You can put on a great show and that's fantastic, but make a difference. You know what I mean? Whether you're talking about mental illness and or cancer or something, make a difference. You have an opportunity to save someone's life and you don't even realize it. And that's how I've always looked at playing shows. Like I said, all our stuff is about, the majority of our stuff anyways, is about very serious topics and stuff that I went through or have been part of somebody else going through. It's tough, right? And life's not always an easy place to survive in. So be kind, you know what I mean? And if you have those opportunities, you're in a position to be like that and to lend a hand to somebody on a stage. It's incredible how people will respond to you. It really, truly is. And it's heartwarming to me when I get off stage every single show.
Yeah, absolutely. When you just said that, be kind, because we live in such a strange time. Like in Chilliwack where I live, there's these haters, it's like they protesting at the school board, and they're after the LGBTQ, forget all the letters, community. And it's like, what are you doing? What's the payoff? But when you're kind to somebody, that is such a wonderful payoff.
Yeah, I found, me personally, I don't, especially interviews or even just talking to friends that I talk to all the time, I tend to avoid a lot of topics nowadays, just because it's easier just to be kind than to get tied into all of that. Like my Facebook, you'll never go on my Facebook and see political posts and all this stuff that's going on. I'm sorry, I just don't have the energy for it. I have a lot of friends that are fighting the good fight, and God bless them, but I'm fighting it from a different approach. You know what I mean? I'm fighting it through music. And I'm fighting from a spiritual level, right now. You know what I mean? Because I know I've lost friends to cancer. I've lost friends to drug addiction, and and mental illness. My lady, she actually works in mental health and addiction, so I'm very close to that and understand what that truly is.
Right.
And it's scary. And COVID really took that from here and moved it up to the top. And unfortunately, I'd like to see more funding towards mental health and addictions, because there's so many people out there that truly need help. And I'm not one of these people. Like, I see a lot of posts on Facebook of, like, somebody will find it funny that they're outside somewhere and there's somebody having an episode because of drugs out on the street, and they find a lot of humor in this. I don't. And maybe it's just because of where I've come from and who I've had in my life that have had these problems. The reality of it is that is somebody. You know what I mean? That is somebody's son or daughter or husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or brother, sister. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter. It's somebody that is struggling and needs help. And I find that very sad.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, I'm up early every morning for whatever reason, like 4 o'clock, and I'm sitting at my computer 2 days ago, I think, and I can hear this fighting outside, male and a female, and I look, and they're on the property. I live in a condo. They're on the property here, and they're fighting. And I mean, I know they're drug addicts, right? And what you were saying, I was just thinking about, like, the drugs just overtake people's whole lives, and they don't even realize that they're disturbing other people, or they leave garbage behind and all these things that makes it why people don't like a lot of it.
Yep.
And then there's people that are scared. They're seniors, like, oh my gosh, all these homeless people. And I don't know anybody that's been hurt by a homeless person to begin with.
Yep.
Right? I mean, I don't care that they're on our property. It doesn't bother me. I just ask them, please clean up your garbage. It's not fair to leave it to somebody else, because there's bins close by. But that addiction is just that's when
yeah, it's tough, because what people don't truly understand about addiction is where it stems from. And it actually stems from a lot of pain. It stems from trauma in most cases. And I think that's what happened to me was during COVID, when we were going to take over that venue downtown Oshawa. This is where things really, truly changed for me, when I started to see things different. Because I used to just be angry at it. Yeah. And yes, there's still a lot of things that I don't like about it. And I do understand how a lot of people feel about it. But I remember we were in this venue, and this was a really run-down building. We had to gut it because we were going to turn it into this amazing venue, which unfortunately for us is not going to happen. But I had some phenomenal experiences during that time. I remember one day we used to have a lot of problems with drugs around the building. We'd come out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on break from working inside, and there'd be people shooting up behind the building. And we'd have to quite calm and almost daily ask them to leave. And sometimes it would get, and they'd start calling you all kinds of names because they're not themselves, right? Oh. And I remember one day I was there by myself. I popped in to do something, and I can't remember what it was, but I was leaving. I thought, I'm going to take a walk around the building, make sure nobody's around doing anything they shouldn't be. And I walked around the side of the building, and there's these stairs that go down, and they're kind of like out of the way. You can't see. You have to go down to see what's going on. I walked by, and I seen there was this young guy down there. He was, I couldn't tell what he was doing at the point, because it was kind of dark. And I was kind to him, and I just, listen, my friend, you can't be here. You can't do this. And on the property, so we have a lot of people coming through here. We have a lot of workers, and I can't have you shooting up and stuff here. And he come up the stairs, and this was the moment that changed for me, because he turned to me and he said, I'm really sorry. He said, I'm not shooting up. He says, and then I realized he was actually smoking crack. No. And he said, I'm not shooting up. And I said, listen, I'm not here to judge you. I need you off the property, and I wish you well, but you can't do that here. And that was the moment when I realized I could see the pain in this dude's eyes, and I could tell where this came from. And it was so emotional for me, and that changed everything. That's changed my outlook on what addiction truly is. And that's where my approach to it really changed. And then, of course, having the woman in my life, the amazing person she is, and what she does for a living, is she tells me stories every day, and I'm just in awe at the amazing things she does and what she deals with on a daily basis, and the lives she saves regularly.
Yeah.
It's a sad state of affairs. And so we have a lot of our music is based around some of that. We have a song called Into the Storm, and it's about losing someone to addiction, and it's sad, it's sad state of affairs. And I would like to see a lot of things change in regards to that. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, maybe we'll end it there, because I think that's a good place to end it. Now, remind everybody again that your YouTube channel.
is Tears of a Deity Canada. You can also find us on Facebook on Tears of a Deity. Our music is all on Spotify, all the streaming sites, download sites, everything's there. Same with the song I did with my lady, Shauna Archer. The Code of Conduct is a project we did, which has got the cover of Ain't No Sunshine as well.
Right. So if I'll try to get all of that. Well, not all of that, but I'll get some of that included when I do the rendering, you know, so people can, because sometimes reading the name is makes it more easier to listen to, or not listen to, what more, you know what I'm trying to say? Take it in.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
They like to, some people like to read things, but anyway, stay on camera. Just want to thank you, but stay on camera for a second. And to the audience, thank you so much for tuning into the show. You've been listening to Terry Coad. I'm going to include his information, so look him up. And if you're in his area, you know, you can find out when they're performing. And it's really, really important to support music. I think if we can go out there and listen to them, it's so wonderful to hear music in person rather than on radio or, you know, whatever on camera. So try to get out there and support local bands. And thank you for watching this show. I hope you continue to do so, and take care and peace out, folks.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.